So welcome and thank you so much for invitation, for the interest. And I must say that the first thing I have to do is that I change the method to present the speech. And I will be very disappointing for my staff because they have written for me 8 pages of a speech, and it would be after this first presentation a really very boring approach to present this speech now towards you. So I will try to manage it in another way. I will try to do it to present the ideas for the future of Europe in a direct way. I'm first of all grateful. I'm thankful for being invited to this conference. I want to congratulate all of those who took over the lead to organize this event here in Munich, in one of my home cities. Let me say it in this way, especially to Hubert Burda, but also to the CEO, Mr. Cullen, all of those who took really responsibility and organized this event. It's great to be here. And you know, I'm today present as a politician, but I'm not only a politician, I'm an engineer from my profession. I studied physics, and I have in mind that the idea of innovation, the idea to think in technical ways, was in my mind from the very first moment on. I have books in mind like Captain Nemo, where he was in a submarine and was discovering the deep sea. I have in mind the book of Dr. Samuel Ferguson, where he was in his first balloon flying across Africa and experienced this. That is what I have in mind as a child. And that was fascinating for me. These 2 books were written in 1860s and 70s of the last century. Ladies and gentlemen, this gives us an idea that in this period of the European development, the founding idea, the general idea of Europe was to innovate, to have fresh ideas, to be interested about the future and to discover what is ahead of us. And today, sometimes I have the feeling that some of the dreams became, for a lot of people, for some parts of our societies, the dreams about the futures became in some of these fields a little bit of a nightmare. People are afraid about robots taking away their jobs. People are afraid about smartphones spying about their private daily life. And people are afraid about the genetic labs breeding unknown species. That is what people have today in mind when they speak about innovation. And that's why my first message is, if we want to win the societies for what all you believe in, for innovation, if we want to win the people for this, we have to make them to our partners. We have to turn nightmares again into dreams. There is a huge task ahead of us to do so. And what are the concrete steps to achieve this? I would start first of all that innovation must start with the fundamental idea to improve the daily life of the people. I'll give you an example. When you speak about innovation, you can have these fears in mind. I described some of them. But you can also look for examples. When I'm as a politician standing in front of people, you can look for examples where you can make people hopeful and trustful for the future. One concrete point is what I'm using at the moment also in my campaign for the elections in 2019, that a lot of our families in Europe face the experience that they have to battle against cancer. More than 40% of us, also here in these rooms, will face in their life cancer. I speak with the experts on this, and they tell me, if we combine as Europeans all the money we have, all the research experts we have, and all the databases we have for the question to give an answer on cancer, then the experts tell me that it is possible to cure cancer. And imagine that we as Europeans would create a master plan in fight against cancer and would give an answer to this disease in the next 5, 6, 7 years. Immediately, the people, the Europeans, would understand that innovation can really make the world a better place, can really give us all a feeling that it's great to be together as Europeans and to achieve such big things. I'll give you another example. When we visit our grandparents, then we have in mind the years when we were as childs with them. They took care about us. And now it's a moment that we have to take care about them. They're becoming older and older. Today it's a reality that when we visit our grandparents, we visit them in a small room in a retirement castle. That's normally the reality. Imagine we would invest a lot. We would create a kind of a smart home, smart houses, especially for elderly people, that they don't face anymore the need to leave their home when they are getting older. So what I want to tell with these two examples is that all innovative aspects must start from the perspective of the daily life of people. If we don't do so, we will not win the support of the people for innovation in the next upcoming years. A second element I want to mention today is, if we want to be an innovative continent, we must have in mind the principle of fairness. The first revolution in the economy we saw was 150 years ago. It was the Industrial Revolution. It was a true booster for the living standards of the people in Europe. The steam engine, factories, railroads, the division of labor created a lot of new products, and the productivity which was created a lot of positive things for the people. For example, public hospitals, public transport, health insurance, the pension system, and so on and so forth. The people could see and could feel and could really touch that innovation brings a lot of benefits for their daily life. But these improvements did not come easily. The first industrial revolution also created a huge division inside of our societies. We had a lot of fights, a lot of social conflicts in the European Union, with a lot of winners and with even more losers in this period of time. Even one development which led finally to a division of our continent was created in this time. It was the communism, because we couldn't give a proper answer about this new element, about winner or loser in a society in such an industrial revolution like we saw it 150 years ago. And today, with the digital revolution, we saw it also with the first presentation today, we will face a new, question how the creation of wealth will be distributed in our societies. Young software developers have been turned into multi-billionaires in a few years of time. And that's why the question of fairness will be crucial for finding acceptance for this innovation we are speaking about. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about this aspect, then I want to underline that for the European level, especially the question of competitive law is a crucial issue. I think we are too slow and we are not really clear when it is about the implementation of our competitiveness rules in the European market. For example, on the Google prohibition decision on Google Shopping, it took too much time, two commissioners, and too much time to do the necessary decisions on European level. And also on the question how we can, get money, have a well distribution of the positive developments of the digital revolution. There we have to do more. I could think about a kind of a digital market entry fee, a kind of a custom for tech giants that want to enter the European digital single market in the future. With their contribution, we will and we can be able to invest in future technologies and also to improve the daily life of the people. Again, fairness is a crucial aspect. Another point I want to mention is that in the last revolution, in the Industrial Revolution, we faced another problem where I say we shouldn't do the mistake again. And that is the problem that only a few of the regions really benefited from the positive developments. Today we face the same situation. We have in the east of our continent, in Poland, in Hungary, in Romania, a very positive growth development. In Poland, for example, 5.7% GDP growth in the last year, only in the last year. So it's very positive. But that is only half of the story. The other half of the story is what economists tell us. More money is flowing out of the countries than is flowing in to the countries, because the cars and the machines are built up there, but the profit, the money, goes to the headquarters of the companies, and they are mainly in the West. And I give you another consideration about this question of all regions must profit. Political scientists like Ivan Krastev tell us that a lot of people from the so-called new countries of the European Union are leaving their home, especially the well-educated people. We have a massive brain drain inside of the European Union of today. The schools in Bulgaria are doing a great job, but the universities and the job opportunities in the West are much better than in the east of this continent. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not a sustainable development. That cannot be the answer for the future of Europe, that we see a splitted European Union. And the answer in this field is also very linked to your Congress. It's about innovation. For example, that Europe must invest for the next supercomputer, not again in the traditional area where we have already a lot of innovation. The next supercomputer must be placed in one of the countries of the eastern countries of the European Union. 5G can give an answer. Smart cities, smart villages can give an answer in the east of Europe. And if we can empower the small, medium enterprises, the traditional sectors, to go in the digital field, then I think the East can profit a lot. Innovation as another aspect means also for me to do it in a European way of life. What do I mean with this? Ladies and gentlemen, I hear a lot about regulation is a burden. A lot of the lobbyists who are arriving towards us in Brussels are telling us that regulation is a burden, and when we compare each other with the other regions of the world, it's America, it's China, they have less burden, so we cannot compete with them. That is the argumentation I hear very, very, very often. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer for the future is not to be quick. The answer for the future is to be sustainable. And what do I mean with this? Probably the question of having no regulation and create no burden is an argument to create quick innovation, but I'm sure it will not create sustainable innovation on the long run. I'll give you a few examples. I think that we believe in some principles as Europeans. For example, we all think that privacy and data protection, I hope so, is a key value for us. We all believe that the question of copyright, when I'm innovative, when I'm creative, that what I innovate, that this has to be protected because it's my innovation, that copyright is a key element for our way to do economy and to organize a society. And I tell you that everybody of us expects that everybody pays a fair contribution in our tax system to organizing our society. Principles. I call it, in a way, the European way of life to do things, which we believe in, how to organize things. And I'm deeply convinced as a politician that the values we believe in the real world, when I have a newspaper, a printed newspaper in front of me, that these values are also values for the digital world. If we cannot implement them in the digital world, we will lose the values for the future. And that's why I believe in regulation. I have in front of me a former commissioner of the European Union, Viviane Reding. She is the founding mother, let me say, of the data protection rules of today's European Union. I know a lot of people are complaining about the data protection rules, but I believe in this. I voted in favor in the European Parliament in this data protection rules because, again, I think the values we believe in are not only values for the real world, they are also values for the digital world. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to be clear. I think if we cannot guarantee this, then we will lose the most important thing what Europe has, and that is creativity. Young app developer, person who is innovating in the online platforms, is doing the same like a young musician who is presenting his new song. And he's doing the same like a journalist who is writing an article. He trained himself, he prepared himself for his job, he invested a lot of personal engagement, and then, ladies and gentlemen, he was innovative, he was creative, he presented something new. And that's why I think we have to protect what people are innovating, what people have as a creative process in their hands. And that's why I'm strongly in favor of today's copyright reform, which is currently on the table of the European Union. We have to protect the most important thing what Europe has, and that is creativity and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a few considerations from a political point of view. Probably a last one is that I go back in the history of Europe when I refer to the first innovative period of this continent, and that was the times of Renaissance. There we had the situation that competition and cooperation worked together. It were the cities of Florence, Milan, Parma, Bologna, Paris, Prague, and so on and so forth. They were in competition, but they had a strong exchange of views in this time of our history. And I think we have to do the same now. We shouldn't copy and paste the approach of Silicon Valley, where everything is in one hand on one place. That's not Europe. Europe is about diversity, is about having roots, having different ideas, having different cultures to approach a problem, having a strong exchange of views, strong coordination, strong cooperation, and then on this base, being in a European way, innovative. That is what we should do for the future of this continent. Therefore, we need a strong European Union, a strong cooperation on European level. And let me put this as a final point in my introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, the EU 2019 will politically decide whether we will be able to develop on some of these principles in tomorrow's world, because the European elections will decide about the future of this continent. And I think we all experience with the Brexit what it means to follow populism, to follow those who give out easy answers for the future of this continent. That's why 2019 must be a year where we believe in our ideas for the European Union, where we believe in our ideas of staying together in a globalized world, where we develop our way to do innovation. Thank you so much.
This was a strong speech for Europe. Thank you, Manfred. And you agreed to answer some questions from the audience. Who wants to ask Manfred Weber a good question? Don't be so shy. Europe's quality is to be creative, and now you have to be creative. Lynn Kaiser, one of the young entrepreneurs from Munich who invents future, stand up and ask something. We have a question, okay. Here first we have Lynn, and then we have the next question. The mic is there, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Josefina. I'm from Germany Trade Invest. Pleased to meet you. My ears started to ring when you said you're planning a fee for tech giants when entering the digital European market. Could you explain it a little bit more? Thanks.
Absolutely. The key question is that we have, let me say, a special market in this field, special situation in this field. When you compare today the tax contribution from the traditional economies in the European Union, the economic field in the European Union, then you see that they have an average of tax paying on their profit about 21, 22% average in the European Union. When you compare this with the digital field, our digital tech companies, then you see that they are only in an average about 10% or less what they're contributing to our social market economy. That we as politicians have the resources to also help the losers of the development. I spoke about this, the losers in our society, and there will be a lot of challenges to help the losers in the society, in the digital field. And that's why, again, to find a mechanism, you know, we are working on the European level on a digital taxation, on a digital innovative taxation. So Macron yesterday announced that he wants to go, let me say, on national level already one step further. Sebastian Kurz in Austria said he wants to go already on national level one step further, and we have to work also on European level to find good answers on this. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you that is a crucial question for winning the support of the citizens. When I'm as a politician in front of citizens and I explain about this, I tell them about the question of this taxation gap, then you see a lot of people getting very, very angry. That's why taxation and a kind of a fee, let's think about the mechanism, how we do it. That is a crucial question, but that is what we have to do to create fairness inside of this new market.
Two more questions. Lynn.
Yeah, I listened to what you said, and
Explain what you are doing.
My name is Lynn Kaiser. I'm an entrepreneur here in Munich. I work in 3D printing. And the question that I have is, when we do regulation, and I agree that regulation is necessary to a certain extent, why are we always doing such a bad job at predicting the outcome? I give you an example. The GDPR had the outcome that companies all over Europe were bogged down with tasks that took forever to implement. And now every citizen in Germany, in Europe, all across Europe, is constantly clicking on I agree whenever he or she visits a website. Couldn't we have predicted things like that? I mean, I think we are focusing on the wrong things here. Data protection is great, but data protection that gives tech giants an edge because they can implement these things much easier is not good for us. And it actually bogs down the companies that are located here and bogs down every individual citizen who has to live here. It's so much easier to access the internet in the United States now than it is in Europe.
Yes. I fully get the point, and I wouldn't say that we are perfect. You know, when we are doing legislation on European level, it's about 28, in the future 27 member states with their different background. We have in the European Parliament 750 colleagues who are working on such dossiers, who are from different political families. The outcome is not always perfect. I get this point, and I take this point, absolutely. But let me also underline that when I see some of the ways how we do the implementation of the European legislation, then I must tell you, especially when we are here in Munich, especially when we are in Germany, I must tell you that we have different ways to implement legislation. We have sometimes very bureaucratic ways, very law-oriented way, in a way, that everything must be perfect, as if everything must be documented, and some more flexible way. I don't say that we shouldn't implement legislation. That's a rule of law. We have to do it. But let me say, when I listen, I was on Friday in Madrid. I will go after this meeting to Vienna. And when I'm traveling all around Europe, I see the different way to implement and to adapt the legislation we are doing in the European Union. And to get also a common understanding how to implement things practically, reasonably, probably with less bureaucracy. It would be a great thing not only to have a European legislation, but also a European way to implement things. And that shouldn't be the German way, let me say it in this way. That shouldn't be the German way. On the other hand, we have to find a new mechanism to stronger interact and cooperate. I must tell you that my experience as a politician is that we are living more and more in bubbles. We as politicians have our bubble where we fight against the right extremists now, those who wants to destroy Europe, Le Pen and Farage and all these crazy guys. And you are living in a world of Amazon and Google. You are discussing every day who is getting more profit, who is getting more market share and so on. That is what you are doing. To think about.
We discuss much more.
Okay, sorry about this. But you know what I mean. You have the artists are also live in a bubble, in their bubble, and the academics also in some of the fields. And what we need in the future is more interaction. When I speak about the European way of solving things, of innovating, then I think it's also a way that everybody with his different perspective is working together. And that's why to build up a strong network between those who have to implement the regulation and those who are dealing with regulations must be improved, absolutely. It's not easy, I must tell you again. Europe is a great thing. The European Union is also not easy to manage, but we have to do it better, in a better way together. And when you ask me, then I would also add that for the future, I would invite really everybody, when we do legislation, regulation. Again, in my experience as a politician, I must tell you that a lot of people arrive, experts, lobbyists arrive and tell me, Manfred, please be aware, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because it's bureaucratic, it's a burden, whatever. I never experienced that somebody is arriving to me and tells me, if you do legislation, do this, do this, do this, to protect probably our market and not the Chinese and not the American giants. To do something in favor of our way to innovate, for our community, for our business sector. There we need fresh ideas for a positive regulation, for an innovation and regulation which is in the benefit of our companies and not in the interests of the US giants in this field.